force. If it doesn't work, you're just not using enough. You're listening to SOFREP Radio, special operations military news, and straight talk with the guys in the community.
Awesome episode of SOFREP Radio. But first, before I introduce my guest, I want to tell you about what? Guess it with me. Say it with me. The merch store, rad. That's right. SOFREP.com/merch has all of our branded goods. You might be able to find your own shirt just like this right here. You just never know what's at the SOFREP merch store. Keep supporting us. Keep the fireplace going. Second is our book club, right? Those of you that are already in the book club that listen to the podcast, thank you so much. Those that are interested in the book club, it is sofrep.com/book-club. We interview so many authors, have so much book knowledge going on that these guys in the special operations community have just curated a cool library for you to enjoy. So check out the SOFREP book club. Now, today I have former Coast Guardsman Rob Shaul, who is in charge of the Mountain Tactical Institute for bettering yourself as a mountaineering extreme athlete or just want to be better. Welcome to the show, Rob Shaul.
Well, thanks for having me, Brad.
Coast Guard, huh?
Yeah, grew up in small town Wyoming. Needed to pay for school. Ended up at the Coast Guard Academy and spent time there. Did my academy time. Got out. Went on a buoy tender for a few years, and then sat on a desk in Alaska, and then went back to Wyoming. So that's kind of
what's a buoy tender?
The Coast Guard. At that time, it was a long time ago. Graduated from school in '90, I guess, in the academy. So I'm an old guy.
Yeah, kinda.
At that time, the Coast Guard, there were two types of ships: there were white boats and black boats. And the white boats were the law enforcement guys. They were the guys who were chasing drug runners in Florida and checking fishermen up in Alaska. And the buoy tenders were the black boat guys. And the black boats, they took care of all the buoys that you see along the coast. They all
no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just that was kind of a blue collar guy, and I didn't really want to get into the law enforcement side, and so I went to a buoy tender.
So you enjoyed the water, and then if I can just picture this, let me just try to describe. You correct me if I'm wrong. You have a boat, and it's probably got a flat back dock deck area where you can hang out and do all of your maintenance and get the buoys ready. And your buoys probably have like big cement blocks on them, and then you push them off the back of that boat, and then the chain goes with it, and the buoy in the water, and you just are maintaining these all the time. Is that right?
Yeah, it's real similar to that. At this time, the buoy tender I was on was the Coast Guard cutter Iris, and it was from World War II. Actually, it was an old tender. It was pretty cool. It had an old diesel engine in it. They need constant maintenance. It had a single screw or one propeller on the back and one rudder. And so from a ship driving perspective, it was old school, really basic. Didn't have a bow thruster or anything. And as a deck officer, on there, and you had a helmsman who would drive the boat, would steer it. But as a deck officer, you'd be on the wing of the bridge, watching the tending deck or the work deck was in the front of the boat, and so the bridge is behind it. And you'd be up above watching that, and you'd have the throttle. You'd be manipulating the throttle in your hand, just a joystick, the throttle, and you'd be yelling to the helmsman to come right or come left or whatever. And yeah, you'd go up, you'd get, I was on the Iris, was in Astoria, Oregon, which is on the Columbia River.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, just huge waves going through those bars and big ocean buoys. And we would, you'd go up to the buoy, you'd be banging, you got to come up to in the boat, and the deckhands would catch it. They'd hook on, we had a boomer come over and hook onto the buoys. You look at the buoy at its base, not the tower, but the base, it has these big, hooks in it, or, place where you put a hook. You'd freaking put a hook in it, you'd hook up to it, you drag it up, and underneath it, it does have a chain. We'd have this thing, it would go into the chain and would lock the chain. And we would take and the buoys need maintained. They need to paint it. They all have the barnacles need to get scraped off them. The electronics is working, and then if the section of the chain is rusty, needed to be replaced. The chain will go the chain would go up and down on itself with the waves, right? So that part of the chain might need to be replaced, and then we make sure the position of the buoy was good. Big ass, huge cement block at the bottom of them. And as a deck officer, it was a big no-no if you broke the chain, because as the buoy was on deck, being worked on, you were hooked to the boat was hooked to
The buoy's block.
the block down below.
Wow.
If you pulled it too far with the boat, it would pop the chain because the boat's heavier than the block.
Yeah.
And then the guys on the deck would get mad at you because they'd have to do all the work to put in a new block. And so it was quite you'd have to work with current and wind. Anyway, this is geeky.
No, I just actually learned how anchors completely drag into the dirt until tension is pulled on the ship to meet the tension in the dirt. So I'm like completely fascinated by this. That's why I was like, does it have the block with the chain and you get it off the back of the boat and it just like Davy Jones's locker down it goes. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, when they would set a new one, they would lay out all the chains and fan it out on the deck, and a guy would hit something with the go down, and the buoy popping off. Yeah, everybody get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool too, because we'd have to go into these all these different rivers, or like Columbia River Bar, all these bars where the silt from the river piles up right where it meets the ocean. And what that does is when the ocean swells come in, they hit the current from the river, but also the piled up sediment. It makes really big and jumbled seas. And there was some search and rescue right in the Cleveland River Bar, and it was a lot of fun actually.
Dude, out of the cowboy state, bro, you turned into a pirate.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, like
different experience for sure.
There she blows, I mean, did you, did you see whales and the beautiful scenery? Was that just cool at times? You were just like, this is my job?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty amazing. I really was surprised. I liked, being out there in the cold and, on the bridge wing of the deck, and, the wind in your face and you're wet all the time. And as part of my Coast Guard career at the Academy, there was a bicentennial of Australia. So that country turned 200 years old, and there was a tall ship parade. And the Coast Guard Academy has a tall sailing ship with 4 masts on. It's called the Eagle.
Yes.
And it's a training ship we use. But my class got to sail the ship down to 2 semesters. Half the class sailed the ship down to Australia. I was on that one, and the other class sailed back. We were on the same tack from, I think, Galapagos to Fiji or something. On the same tack for like 30 days, just going. And you'd go up and work the sails and
the ropes and the line. It's the big ship. It's the big sailboat that we all see, that I've seen. I don't know if anybody out there has seen it, but you should Google it and see exactly, because don't all Coast Guard cadets and whatnot have to work that ship at some point? Isn't there like a...
Yeah, every class. I think as sophomores, it's been a long time, obviously 30 plus years. I think sophomores spend, their summer on the ship, or part of the summer on the Eagle, and then my class just got to do the centennial. So again, we had to go to school that summer. We didn't get summer break; we had a condensed semester, and then we actually got taught a couple courses on the ship. And it's like it was a World War II training ship for Germany actually. We kind of commandeered after the war, so it wasn't super old, but it was a metal ship. But it was pretty cool, really cool actually.
Yeah, really cool. No, you're cool. That's really cool, right? Cool. You'd have your own G.I. Joe character, Coast Guard guy with that ship, or your own ship. That's so legit, And I know that, there was the Coast Guard's Department of Defense. It was military, right? It was a branch of the military, and then it's moved into kind of like Homeland Security.
I don't think the Coast Guard is ever part of DOD. It started. I think it was under the Department of Treasury as a revenue tax collecting thing, and originally, when I was in it was under transportation. It's always kind of been, until recently, until Homeland Security. It was under transportation until it went under Homeland Security.
Maybe that's what I was thinking.
It was never under DOD because the Coast Guard has law enforcement responsibilities, and they're able to arrest people on U.S. soil or whatever, U.S. waters. So it can't be DOD. So there's a difference. It's a military branch, but it's always been kind of a weird one, I guess, that way. Until Homeland Security fits it perfect, but.
Yeah, no, love it. And you guys, I'm not sure if this is ever part of your gig, but sometimes they would put Coast Guard men on naval vessels so that they could use the Navy ship to kind of patrol the U.S. and pull people over with a Navy vessel. But they have like two Coast Guard guys board it with them.
Yeah, I remember. I never did that, but yeah, I do remember that was, to get around. I forget what that law is, but the idea that DoD personnel can't enforce U.S. law on U.S. citizens or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so here you are on a ship, and you're always out to sea, and you got sea legs, and you're trying to maintain your fitness, and you're trying to maintain yourself. What are you doing on the ship other than like a push-up? Is there a platform to run around the deck? Are you guys doing calisthenics all the time? Are you even doing that?
Yeah, I was. I was the only guy in the ship doing that, just because I'd always been a gym rat. I just do push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and air squats and stuff on the back. I mean, the ship's not that big. We weren't out to sea very long too. That's another reason I liked it. I didn't really like the idea. When I was on the Eagle and we went to Australia, we were underway I think for 30 days at a time or something. That was too long for me. The beauty of the buoy tenders, it was almost like a 5-day work week. We'd leave on Monday and be out to sea, tend all these buoys and stuff and get back to port on Fridays. It was kind of nice. I think we went out 2 weeks one time or something. That was long, but it's 180 foot. It's not a very big ship, obviously, so it's always rocking and rolling. But you just make do.
And Astoria, that is famous for where the Goonies, the movie The Goonies, were filmed in Oregon. They did the whole, Fratelli's house was on the bluff up there. I went up to that, and I got to see the rocks. That he's like, guys, the rocks, they all match up, Goonies. And here I am looking out at the horizon of the ocean, and I see ships out there. And one of those could be one of your ships just cruising along the coast right there, going up the coast of Astoria. That's so rad, bro.
Yeah, Astoria's pretty cool. Columbia River, I can't remember, but it's one of the huge cargo ports. And we would be coming in from sea or going out, and they would have big car carriers. The car carriers would go into I think they go up to Portland, pick up cars from factories and take them, or I'm sorry, they were actually delivering cars from Japan. Yeah, they would be coming. The car carriers would bring cars from Japan, and they would take them to Portland. That's where the port was, and so these massive ships coming through. The Columbia River and up the bar, and we'd pass them, in the channel. Anyway, it's just a really great experience there, being there for sure. That one of the things is at that time that was just right. Astoria was a small town, and it was fairly depressed then. The spotted owl thing was going on, probably before your time, but there's a lot of stopping or curtailing or dropping back of timbering there. The town was a timber town, so it's kind of a depressed little town, but it's still incredibly beautiful at that time. It's booming now, I think, but.
I just stayed in Astoria for about 7 days earlier this year. So we were all up and down that coast, going through those little, I want to say villages, right? Like fishing, total, exactly what you would imagine on the coast of an ocean. Really not many roads getting in and out. It's just that main road to go up the coast there. And honestly, when I look out at the ocean and I see a boat or a ship sailing, and I wonder if they look over at the land and just think about us the same way, like, God, that's cool. They're on the water. And they're like, God, dude, they don't know they're on land. It's like, just like you always think it's greener on the other side. How cool it would be, but you guys are dealing with trying to stay outside of the break of those waves that are coming in and everything like that, right? I'd imagine it's just like constant, right?
Yeah, we would just travel up and down the coast, and the buoys would be, they would mark all the channel of the bars, the rivers into the different ports. And those are the main, those are the main buoys they're all big ocean buoys that we'd work with. So, and all the little towns, we would go right down, I think, right down to the northernmost town there in California. And we go up to Puget Sound in Washington. So we had the whole Washington, Oregon coast and all the little towns. It's pretty cool.
Today, back in June when I was just up there, 2024, I'll tell you the 3 things, maybe 4 things every town had to be considered a town as I drove the coast of Oregon to Astoria. Some type of dollar store, okay? A cannabis shop. It looks like a fishing hut, but it's like literally like the dispensary, okay? That's like the first 2 things you see. A Dairy Queen or like similar is gonna be in the town. And a Fred Meyer's, bro. And I'm from Utah. And so Fred Meyer's used to be always around here, and we have all these Smith's marketplaces and stuff, but when we met, my wife and I started driving up the coast, we were like, oh my gosh, Fred Meyer's, dude. There's a Fred Meyer's there. There's a Fred Meyer's there. We're like nostalgic for it. So that's a really cool duty station. If you're living up and down the coast of Oregon and getting to check that out, you know, what a cool experience. And as a young man too, right? You were in your 20s.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, and there was an air station there at Astoria, and those guys were busy too. I don't know if they're as busy as the guys up in Alaska, but they were busy, and I would. They had a real tiny gym in the air station, and work out there as much as I could, and
Sure.
be an air survivalman or two. And they're, you know, those are the rescue swimmers, Coast Guard rescue swimmers, listed guys who jump out of the helicopters. And I'd say, save anybody a day, and you know, inevitably they you know, there's lots of people who actually get killed on the Oregon coast. They get sucked out by the rips in the ocean.
I'd
it's
imagine.
full of water, and they get out there and they just get sucked out. And so those guys are busy.
And those guys are just angels from up above, right? I don't know what you believe in when you're in that position, but that guy jumping in or that gal jumping in to rescue you, like, how you doing? Don't mind the rotor wash. Don't drown me. I'm gonna knock you out. So shout out to the really like rescue swimmers that we're all used to seeing and jumping out in their orange and white helicopters, like dolphins, I think they're called. I'm not sure exactly, but you know, that's really cool. And it's crazy how much things I know all of a sudden about like the Coast Guard from just talking to you for a little bit. It just all comes into my brain. I'm like this and that, but like Kodiak Island and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you really keep an emphasis on exercise, right? And I want to expose MTI, which is something that you're very passionate about, and it's a project that you're involved with. Is this your company, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, and so you've transitioned from the military side, you know, as a veteran, et cetera, to a civilian side, and you decided to get into this company, MTI, Mountain Tactical Institute, where what I read about it was, you know, being a quiet professional, is talking about, you know, you want to touch base on some of your fundamentals to explain to my listener and viewer?
Yeah, the work we do is primarily fitness programming for mountain and tactical athletes. I started the company about 18, 19 years ago now, and at that time, after I got out of the Coast Guard, I moved back. I went back to Wyoming, got my master's degree, had a business in the small town I grew up in, sold that business, and then I'd always been a gym rat my whole life, and kind of wanted to, you know, pursue that. And just north of where I live is Jackson, Wyoming, which you're familiar with Jackson.
Yes.
It's a incredible mountain town, but it's also kind of the lower 48's premier training place for, you know, free skiers and alpinists and ski
Travis
mountain.
Rice.
Yeah, and backcountry snowboarders and everything. And so I wanted to go up there and start working with those athletes and mountain guides. And I started a company called Mountain Athlete, and it was just a gym. And I started doing programming. This is right when CrossFit was coming on and Jim Jones, and so I was kind of starting when those guys started up too. And started that in 2007, and then was working along with that. Then 2008, 2009 was when Obama had the surge in Afghanistan. And lots of Army guys were going to Afghanistan deployments in the mountains and just getting their asses kicked. And they saw that I was doing for mountain athletes, and so they started reaching out to me to program for Afghanistan. And so I developed it's called an Afghanistan pre-deployment training program based on what I had learned from working with mountain athletes. And we gave that away to thousands of guys, you know, give it to battalion commanders, squad leaders, individual soldiers. And then after that, things built. And I started getting requests to program for military PFTs, special forces selections. And then pretty soon, police wanted me to start programming for them. So we started working with law enforcement officers and then fire rescue. And now we do all tactical athletes, wildland guys. You know, I consider wilderness professionals like rangers, game wardens, wildland firefighters, so all types of different tactical athletes. So now I kind of merged the companies together. We mountain athlete, we did military athlete, then we kind of just merged together to mountain tactical. So that's what I do right now. I work with mountain and tactical athletes.
That's awesome. I kind of live in that lifestyle right now. I'm an avid hardcore snowboarder. You know, I rode 70 days last season, you know, and that's in addition to 260 or 200 days of the gym of boxing in between all of those snowboarding days. So 270 days out of 365 of the year I can count were like moving my body. right? And at altitude, like I'm at altitude, 12,388 feet is where Snake crests at the top when I go to the lift, and I'm up there, and I go to strap my bindings in, and I'm like, I got to do some, just like kind of get my bearings, because just bending over, you exert yourself just to strap in bindings, bro. So,
Right.
just like the simplest things. And so, and then all of a sudden I go from high altitude, 12,000, almost 13,000 feet, straight down to 4,000 to go to work that same day. And then when I go to work that day, I'm running war games. And so I do a huge airsoft war game here in Utah, in the mountains, the deserts, and inside indoor CQB, close quarter battle style training. And so I also am running people during briefing. The thing I ask is, do I have any heat casualties? People that, are diabetic. Anybody out here that has any heart issues that I need to know about in advance? I'm not a medic. I'm not trying to pretend to be one. I just want to watch you. Make sure that, okay, this dude just went down. He said he was a diabetic. Does anybody got his insulin? Anybody got an EpiPen? Anybody got anything for this dude that said he's got this, that, or that? So I just want to know from these guys, because again, one thing you think you can play the video game. It's one thing to think you can play the video game with your thumbs and run through Call of Duty and get all those kills. It's another to put all that gear on, and then just all of a sudden you're at the mountains with me and my guys, and we're just like, yeah, we're going to go up in this hills right here. Just getting up to the hills to start the game. And, are you going to die on us? We haven't even started the game yet, right? And then people realize through what we do with these large-scale war games is that they got to hit the gym, bro. I quit smoking in 2004 because I started wargaming in 01. I was like, why? I heard myself on video going, I was like, I don't like that. the things that make you think about it, right? And also I wanted to be able to keep up with these younger dudes. I was in my 20s, but I was still getting chased by 17, 18, 19-year-olds, 35-year-olds who had been in the military, out of the military. So for 20 years since I've been doing this, I have just been consistently maintaining what I call the donkey mentality. So I just got to go up the hill step by step by step, my thighs, my quads, donkey. Any thoughts on what I'm telling you right now?
Yeah, what you're talking about is uphill movement under load.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a big part of, that's the fundamental fitness demand of any mountain sport, is uphill movement under load, or most of them anyway. So except maybe, alpine lift assisted skiing. But, that was a big part of our, my programming. When I first started programming for mountain athletes, I learned some hard lessons. The training for football players does not work for training for mountain sports.
Right.
Power doesn't help you get up the mountain. And so, what was interesting about my own career was, I read every book was out there, and there just weren't any books on focused, professionally driven, or professionally designed, training for mountain and tactical athletes. And so, over the years, I've been able to, through hard knocks, learn those lessons and develop the theory.
Yeah, see, my father, which you may not know, was a former Green Beret. His flag sits on the mantle right here with his beret. Tactical athlete. Hands down. All of his friends, all of the guys I grew up around, my dad growing up, if you could imagine, just always running marathons. Who can outdo who can sit on their fingertips and put their feet out? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's got the core? Who's training with Chuck Norris's, former ex-world champion that fought him and stuff? Like, that's exactly how those guys, were going. And so I guess I get a little bit of that from them. I didn't go as hard as they did, at all in the military. I was Air Force. So, I do, when I talk to guys like yourself, or a SF guy gets on the show, or former SAS or any of this, I always tell them, you're like an Olympic athlete. And I don't know about that, Rad. I don't know, cheerio. No, you are, bro. You're running, you're gunning, you're humping, you're keeping in fit, and you're doing all these huge missions or you're training for missions. How is that not training to be a tactical athlete?
Yeah, I think what I've kind of learned over the years is that what we hope to bring is some professionalism and just some planning and design to that program design for those types of athletes. And on the mountain side also, we work with, on the mountain side, primarily mountain professionals, either pro athletes sponsored or, a mountain professional will be like, a ski patrolman or somebody like that.
Sure.
has a job up there, so they need to be professional about your fitness. I don't know if I would call tactical athletes, like even special forces guys, Olympic athletes. I've worked with Olympic athletes, and there's a difference in talent. But they do have, just athletic talent. But they do have a really unique set of fitness demands, and they have a burden of constant fitness, especially on the soft side, where they have to be fit all the time, and they have to work over a long career. And so, I worked with an Olympic ski racer, and I think she was on the ski team about a dozen years, which is a long time. A lot of those athletes, they just don't have careers that long. So, if you want to be, especially if you want to, as some of the guys on the teams, and most guys are able to stay on the teams at a 20-year career, 15 years, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But that's a long time to, stay fit, and, they're retiring in their late 30s or whatever. So, which is old if you've been doing that kind of work all the time. So, yeah, you got to be professional about your fitness for sure.
It's kind of like, professional athletes too, I mean, they're kind of retiring at the late 38, 40-year-old mark. And, here I am.
Yeah, the lucky ones who don't get injured. Yeah. That's pretty old.
Right. For example, I think John Stockton of the Utah Jazz retired like at 40, after putting in 20 years, missing 3 games, I mean, that's the
amazing,
kind of, that drive is kind of what I'm talking about, where they know how to break down either that fourth wall. The Olympic athlete can just run like a distance runner. It probably crosses their mind like, I should just stop and rest. This sucks. But they can just break down and keep going that wall, and power through it. Mind over matter, per se. And then they collapse at the finish line.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I found that the more experienced they are, the smarter they are.
Mm-hmm.
And, as I think being a sponsor snowboarder, the better your technique, the less fitness it takes to snowboard.
I say go fast. Just go fast. If you go fast, it's the easiest way. Just straight.
I tried to follow my pro skiers downhill, and I'm a pretty shitty skier, and I would be huffing and puffing, and despite my fitness at the bottom, and they would be worked. They're just some, their technique is so good, they just use their muscles, less than others. So, yeah, but I think that in my work, it seemed that the older guys are definitely smarter about their programming, and they can understand. Well, ideally, if they've been professional about it, they don't go hard. I mean, the younger guys are really going hard, but the older guys are a little more smart about it. So we hope to catch some of the younger guys early and make them be smart about it.
Make them be smart about it. Yeah, exactly. Versus like just throwing it all to the wind and just, busting a backside 360 cork or something to at least get some, thought about what you're doing. I mean, I know they're using airbags, and like nowadays you got like 15-year-olds going to Woodard Park City to train during the summer, right? They're just like hitting the airbags on their snowboards or skis. And so they're really doing the same type of tactical training. They're just consistently training through the summertime, hitting the airbags. So when they go up, but bro, it all comes down to landing. I don't care. Airbag's not on the resort. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, it's so interesting on the mountainside. When I first started, it was just at the beginning of the YouTube craze and Instagram craze, and TikTok wasn't around then. And so at that time, there were competitions. There still are free ride, free ski world tour, free ride world tour. And I think Rice is starting a new one up.
Natural selection.
Yeah. But at that my athletes, my free skiers, we had a team actually, and they were really into that. And that was a way to sponsorship. You do get in the competitions, and then you would get sponsored. But pretty soon, the YouTube thing came along. People started doing their own clips, and then there was the personality side that kind of went with being sponsored too. So you could have a certain personality, not be a great skier, or a snowboarder, and still get sponsored. And so what we found in my work was there was a movement away from training for the free ski competitions, this other path, and as part of that, a lot of the athletes really got away from being professional about their fitness, which is kind of a shame. I mean, they could edit their own YouTube edits, right? So
it's
like
funny.
You said, they only show the jump. They don't show the landing.
No, and it's funny that you say that, because like there's kind of this like in the industry, in the community, the culture of snowboarding, they're like, what happened to like the videos? where it was like the riders and the team riders all have these clips montage together, maybe even in a 20-minute video, right? Cool.
Yeah.
We still call it a snowboard movie, right? We're like, yeah, all right, they're snowboarding a rail at the church parking lot, in the video. But now we all have a cell phone, right? We all have a production company in our pocket, and these guys are like, hey, hold this while I do this, and then everybody's kind of just uploading right to Instagram. I'm guilty. I have a YouTube channel for snowboarding, and it specifically focuses on that. But at the end of the day, that's what I like. I love to do that. I'm doing this with you. I just think that a lot of the athletes get away from a lot. I think it just becomes just so like, I need to put something up right now. There's no one's willing to wait to put the movie together and then put it out, have a little premiere, have all the snowboarders kind of come in and watch it and give them that, oh, we're on the screen, bro. Look at that big shot, It's just like right on our phone.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to see that kind of culture grow up. One of the things I get a lot of times is from, in the mountain culture, the mountain sports culture, there was one group of athletes who really came to the gym with two groups who came to the gym with a professional attitude about fitness. The first one was the Olympic ski racers, and the people who did the Olympic type racing. And I think the reason for that is because the selection for those racers is very selective. You got to do it via competition. You have to prove it consistently. And on the free ski side, it was totally different. The competitions were a little more freewheeling, and this, and you could just jump in a competition to do it. You didn't have to come up through all the ranks to do it. Anyways, the Olympic skiers, they had their coaches. They came to it. They trained hard. Really professional about their fitness. The other side were the really high-level rock climbers who they needed to train, rock climbing specific fitness, primarily finger strength, to excel. What I found, and it's the same in all technical sports, especially mountain sports. Rock climbing is a good example. When you first start, it can be, man will be really, strong grip strength. This is his grip strength. And this is his technique. And so he can pretty much, just pull up his way up there.
Right.
But as you get better, all of a sudden your technique and your strength start going like this. And at that level, at the high, 512, 513 levels, you're just bouncing back and forth like that. And so that what we kind of learned, I'd always get this question is, why don't I just snowboard to be better at snowboarding? And the reason that I answered and what I found was that it's really inefficient to train fitness on the mountain, and it's really inefficient to train technique in the gym. So what I mean by that is, if you get to the beginning, like you said, your season just started, and I don't know what your snowboard legs are right now, but chances are they aren't that good. You haven't been training for it.
Oh, no, I have though. Let's say someone else hasn't though.
Sure, yeah. So the first maybe 2-3 weeks of your season are going to be getting your legs back underneath you if you're pros, and what that means is that first 2 or 3 weeks is time that you're not working on technique. And at the upper levels, it's not fitness that separates, it's the technique. And so that's time of technique training that's lost. So if you're able to get to the season fit, then again, it's inefficient to train technique on the mountain, right? You don't want to just be doing laps up and down the mountain to train your legs. It's much better to get to the mountain fit,
yes.
And then you get your mountain time training your technique, your carves, and all the technique that goes into it. Because if you haven't been snowboarding for 6 months, right, your technique is going to be rusty.
Correct.
You got to get your technique back up to speed. So, and that's the same true for all these different sports.
See, and I work on my core consistently. So like today I went to the gym right before we got on this podcast, and today was, what did we do? Planks, burpees, 6 up, 6 down. So 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you would do 6 burpees. I would hold a plank. I would do 6 burpees. You would hold a plank. I would do 5 burpees. You still hold a plank. You do 5. So it's like you go, I go. So I just did that this morning, like consistently. And I've been doing that, like I said earlier, like probably almost every day in preparation for snowboarding. Every time the coach is like, all right, everybody, we're getting ready for the summer. And I just look at him. He's like, except for you, Rad. You're getting ready for like today. Because I look out the window and I tell him, hey, coach, it's my summer out there. Look, and it's like snowing yesterday coming down. He's like, oh, yeah, dude. And when I'm in the gym and we have to hold squats, okay? Like a low squat, and we got to hold it for 30 seconds. I kind of put it in the snowboard position. I kind of lean to myself, just kind of like bearing the weight and just kind of move like I'm moving left or right with my and I like looking at my calves in the mirror. I like focusing on my legs and on my quads and making sure that, they got some tone to them. I like that. So yeah, I definitely really love talking about it too. And this is great. It just brings out a better thing in me.
We have there's like two primary fitness demands for lift assisted skiing. The first one is eccentric leg strength. So as you go down the mountain, gravity is trying to push you into the hill, right? So you got to control that deceleration and then pop out of it. But the pop out of it is a lot less because you get gravity to help you then, right? But that push down, your legs are contracting.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Eccentric strength. And so we developed our dryland training for snowboarders and skiers has specific focused eccentric strength training. The other thing is what I call leg lactate tolerance, but that's just, your quads get full of lactate, and it's the ability to push longer before you have to stop, and then to recover faster when you do stop. And we developed over the years, we developed this unique exercise. It's called a touch jump touch to box. And so you start with a 16-foot box or bench. You start on the side of it, touch your inside hand, jump up laterally to the box, jump back down, touch your inside hand. You don't have to stand up at the top of the box. Just go back and forth as fast as you can. And we do that, intervals of that. That's some of the most intense.
I bet. And that's a 16-inch box, right? Not 16 foot.
Yeah, just an inch box. Yeah. So
Yeah.
You'll find you have to come in to the inside, and it just blows your quads up and gets your hearts going. And yeah, if you look at one of the things about programming is, just like you're an artist, right? You try to everything starts complicated, and sophisticated design we say is immature. It gets more mature as you start cutting stuff away and getting it better and better and better. And so that's been my work as I get better and better at programming, more experience, is just cutting the stuff away to get down to the essential. And so our dryland programming is dominated by those two exercises.
I love that. I love that.
Do the same thing, only harder. The program.
So I'm really stoked to get on the mountain. I feel like I've really been training, hard since the last season, since May. I have been in the gym nonstop. The only time I wasn't in the gym consistently was when I was in Astoria on this family vacation for like 4 days in Northern Cali, and then we drove all the way up to Oregon, and I brought my jump rope. And I brought it on the plane. We rented a car, but I brought my jump rope out, and I started jump roping in Northern Cali at this house we were at. And all the kids that were at the family get together were like, "Oh, Uncle Aaron, can we jump rope with you?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I handed my jump rope, and I'm watching them trying to do kid jump rope and just having a fun time. But it's contagious, right? They see me doing it, and they're laughing, and then they take the rope, and then they're kind of struggling, and I'm like, "Okay, well now who's laughing?"
Yep.
Yeah. And so
do you do any downhill mountain biking?
I haven't done any mountain biking. I have not.
Yeah. It's just I just hear that from some of my free skiers, that downhill mountain biking, just in terms of reaction time, they see a transfer to skiing. Just kind of interesting.
So I skateboard still, even though I'm a little older. I'm I'm 47, so I still have the ability to skate. Is that crazy? Because when I was looking at 47-year-olds, I didn't think they would ever be able to skateboard, dude. I was like, "You're like an old man, bro." But I'm still saying, bro.
Do you still do the surf skate?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so I actually skateboard, 8.25 deck, independent trucks, German bearings, typical, ramp
It's right in my head, but yeah.
I'm just kind of basic skateboard, like that you would see someone riding at the park. And then there's longboarding, and I really had a close call to death because I thought, oh, I can skateboard. So let me set the picture for you, okay? I'm in California. I'm in Hollywood. I'm an actor. I'm going out to auditions. I'm hanging out in Topanga Canyon with a friend of mine who's been in Ziggy Says We Gotta Go. What's that show called? Sliders or something like that? Quantum Leap. So a buddy of mine was in this TV show called Quantum Leap, and he was a younger guy in that show. So he's like, hey, it looks like you skate, right? And I'm like, yeah, bro. And he's got a skate ramp out of his house and everything. And he's like, when you come back tomorrow, we're going to longboard the canyon. Cool? And I'm like, yeah, dude, totally fucking cool, bro. Totally cool, dude. Let's go, right? I snowboard, I skateboard. I'm not scared. But there's a difference between a skateboard that I can tic-tac and a longboard that just gets going straight like an arrow. And then all of a sudden, so here I am. It's the next day, and yes, I wore my skate shoes. He's like, looks like you wore your skate shoes, bro. And I was like, yeah, I did. He's like, I'm just greasing up your wheels, like getting them slick, ready to go, right? And my wife's there and some friends. We're at this house, and he's who he is, and I'm cool with it. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, we're gonna have a chase car follow us, right? And I'm like, yeah, cool. So everybody piles into the chase car, me and him. I think one other dude were riding. He's like, just remember this. Every curve that goes down, there's gonna be an up, so it'll slow us down, all right? So if you feel like you're going too fast around the corner, just keep going down and you'll see that there's an uphill. And I was like, all right, okay, that's gonna slow me down. Bro, so here I'm going. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm kind of surfing it. I'm riding it like you were saying. Are you surfing it? And I was. And then all of a sudden, I started going straighter and straighter, and my board wasn't turning anymore. And now I'm just going straight. And so now I've just got speed, and I'm just like, I'm doing probably like 35 miles an hour, no gear, no helmet, no hand guards, no nothing. And I'm like, okay, he told me, and I'm going super fast right now, and I see a 300-foot like drop down to Sean Penn's house where he was living in a trailer down the mountain. And then I have a hill next to me, so I'm on this tiny road. And I'm like, okay, he says if it goes down, it's gonna go back up. Okay, it goes down, it's gonna go back up. And I'm like, oh shit, it just keeps going down, dude. So I go around this corner, and the chase vehicle's behind me because I'm going so fast. And then all they know is they come around the corner, and I'm walking up to them with the skateboard. At that moment, what they didn't see and what I cleverly disguised was me eating shit super hard. And I went face first, and I had to decide, do I go off the side of the mountain or do I go into the mountain, and at least they can recover me? So I'm like, all right. I'm gonna put my foot down, try to slow down. Immediately put my foot down, it starts to skid, speed wobble, boom, I hit it with my elbow right here first, Pete Rose style into the mountain. I get up, and like all of the flesh off my elbow is hanging. And I get to the vehicle, and they're like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, check it out. Look, and it's just like gnarly. My back's got gravel in it. And so my wife at the time was my girlfriend. We go back to the apartment we're staying at, and I'm jacked up, bro. I'm like, she's like, oh, Aaron, you're so jacked up from this. I'm like, I'm jacked up. And she's like, get in the shower. So I strip down, get in the shower, literally picking rocks out of my back, hitting the bathtub. It's like, tick, tick. I was like, oh, I'm jacked up, dude. I want my mom. So we go to the local CVS pharmacy. I get some like medical wrap, and I just wrap up myself without going to an ER. And now there's a big old scar here. You can't see it on camera, but I had to say the story because you said, are you longboarding? And I'm probably not going to longboard again. I just want you to know. I was about 25.
I read a book a few years ago. I forget what the name it is. I'll have to find it. But it talked about the advancement in skill level of extreme athletes. And, you used Laird Hamilton for some of the big surfing. And I think it had the some of the guys that do the the wingsuit stuff and the free skiers. There was this has been a couple years ago, but there was a video of I think I forget his first name, David Sean Combs or something like that, a famous Jackson's free skier, one of the originals who kind of started it skiing this run in Alaska and Valdez. And the guys in Jackson are the ones that kind of first discovered Valdez for backcountry skiing. I guess the snow in Valdez is powdery, but it kind of sticks. It's not as much avalanche danger. That's how come the heli skiing is up there. And he's, taking many turns down. And then they showed one of the current guys doing it. And the guy, he took like 2 turns going down all the time. And this author kind of described, another thing he took at was free divers. The guys who hold their breath and go down.
Yeah, it's amazing.
300 feet or whatever, even long, I don't know, come up and he just did some comparison of the advances in those skills and those sports compared to track athletes and stuff, and that gave me, I always appreciated my athletes because I thought what they did was amazing. The free skiers who I worked with and the skiers and of course, but I never got an idea of how incredible that stuff is and how much those sports have advanced just in this first time. It just reminds me of what you're talking about now. I just did this, talked about an article or a story a few weeks ago about a whole new type of ski and snowboard movie that is urban.
Oh yeah.
Like the whole thing is in urban, like you talked about, going to snowboard on a church trail. Like the whole thing is urban.
Right.
Oh my God, these guys are, And the parkour thing with those guys doing that stuff. And I see these videos, these guys, doing these jumps, dives into water, just incredible. I mean, it's just been something, and I think you can look at that stuff, being an old guy like I am, 56, I think but God, I mean, you realize the athletic ability and the danger. I guess you don't see them breaking stuff, but I mean, if they're making the video, they've come a long way. But it's just amazing. The parkour stuff is just amazing what they can do. It's amazing.
They're going more fearless. It's like, they're able, and they're taking their, like, if you're a gymnast and you put some skis on or a snowboarder, you're probably going to, and if you're smaller, see, I'm 6'5", okay? And I weigh 275, and that's working out, bro, like trying to keep it off, right? I'm like, I don't want it, okay? I don't want the BDs. I don't need it, okay? I don't want it. It's all around me, and I'm dodging it, okay? Diabetes over there. Diabetes over there. Whew, diabetes over there, okay? That's literally how I'm looking at it, bro, by staying active. And these younger dudes and gals that can just say, I don't ride resorts, I just ride street. And I know I follow some of them on Instagram, and this one gal, she's just hardcore. She just doesn't go to the resort, but she's a snowboarder. And what she does is they just take their shovels and a couple crew, and they go build up the hits, and they pull themselves either with a car or with themselves or some kind of like power generator that they've got that can pull them and like give them enough speed to just get up and hit the rail and, make these videos, bro, the street core kids. And I grew up with those kids in high school. Like, they had a VHS. They were like,
they
bro.
They were doing the snowboards?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. JP Walker, Jeremy Jones, these guys here in Utah, they're kind of like popular snowboarders, first of all. Second, they were the ones that brought street riding to the scene, because JP would always just go and do the local church in Farmington, or he'd go do the Gap up the road, and all that kind of stuff. And they had camcorders where most people didn't have them. So they were able to start capturing that kind of, Mac Dog productions.
And you could tell me, but it seemed like Travis Rice's, natural selection tours kind of bringing those two together, right? Because he has artificial obstacles, I don't know what you'd call them, features in natural setting.
And no one touches the snow. He pre-builds it all, right? He's got it all set up on the mountain, and then they drop, and that's the first run, and no one's touched it. No one's pre-rode it before. It's like straight fresh powder. You got Mark McMorris, Victor De La Rue, all these hard chargers. The gal from Australia, she's like 24 now, Alyssa. Anyways, sorry if I forget your names. You're all hardcore. I look up to all those snowboarders that just go big, because
I saw this just in the free ski stuff, and I was doing it. The winners of first, the women who would win would they'd have to do some drop, some cliff drop, and by that time men were doing backflips and spins, on the natural features, and now I haven't watched it, but I'm pretty sure the women, to be competitive, you're needing to be doing some type of backflip or spin.
Oh, it's happening. 100%. Yeah, go watch Natural Selection. If anybody is interested in what we're talking about, go watch either the first, second, third, or the fifth iteration of Natural Selection with Travis Rice, and you'll see they're doing all the big hits.
It's so interesting to see that, and then, like, I realize, and you do too, how fucking dangerous that is,
bro.
How dangerous it is.
No airbags. That's what I'm saying. There's no airbags. It's either you're smashing your face on your knees if you're coming down too hard. And if you're not wearing, and what a lot of folks don't realize with these extreme athletes in skiing, snowboarding, is they're wearing a mouth guard. They're training with that in there. And if you've ever tried to box with a mouth guard or breathe with a mouth guard, it's difficult. It's you want to take it out. You want to spit it out, let alone, okay, my brain says that my neurons can fire my kneecaps to do my feet, to take my toes to 360. Let's go. And you got a mouth guard in your mouth while you're trying to breathe, So you got to train yourself, and then you're at altitude, and you got to breathe with a mouth guard at altitude. And I hope that makes sense, because it's true, I feel.
Well, just the whole thing. Even before that, they would. I went to watch one of these competitions. It was in Crystal. Crystal is a ski area east of Seattle, Crystal Butte or something like that. Anyway, it was friggin' cold and windy at top.
Yeah. And
they had a tent up there for the competitors, but they'd have to step out of that tent, do some squats, and ski down this death-defying stuff that if there was, serious jeopardy if they fell. And of course, it's the same like it is on the guys who get dropped off the helicopters for skiing.
Corbett, isn't Corbett Jackson Hole Corbett's launch?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. I mean, go watch that. Go watch these
That's gotta be
athletes.
crazy.
Go, dude. And there's a guy in a bucket chair. He's like, his adaptability, whatnot, disabled.
Yeah, I saw him do it, right? Oh my God.
Yeah, dude. And then the dude that was on the snowboard that just went off, hit the cliff, rode the cliff, and then landed inside of the channel of Corbett. How the mind, right? The mind. Wow, the body. And you being Mountain Tactical Institute, who would you look for? Who would want to reach out to you and get your services? Who are you looking for? Who would you say, hey, come to me if you're this guy or gal?
Boy, I think that on either the mountain or tactical side, our programming that I do isn't based on the athlete. It's based on the demands of the event. And so the events that we program for, the sports or the jobs, are, one of the unique things about the athletes that we work with and program for is that they can get seriously injured or killed doing their job or sport. And the programming reflects the intensity and that seriousness. So someone who either is or aspires to be professional about their fitness, it's not beach bodies. We're not training that. We're training for events. And so that's the first thing. And there's no prerequisite to do that. That's just an attitude. You want to be professional about your fitness, and then
Yes.
And then move forward with that. So, that's the primary thing. And the programming that I'm not into gimmicks, not into tricks. It's not designed to entertain you. It's
No.
designed to get you fit for your job or your event, and we do a really good job of that, I think. And we work with all types of different athletes. You don't need to be a professional mountain athlete or a soldier or a special forces guy. We work with all types of people, civilians and stuff, but everyone is serious about their fitness and they want to be professional. Or they want, we design plans. We can get pretty narrow on our plans. We design plans, for example, to do the rim to rim of the Grand Canyon.
Jeez.
Plan specifically for that. So, and along with a plan for DevGru and CAG and selections and stuff, we've had really good success with those. So, those types of athletes, I guess, are kind of interested in that and want that level of programming.
Yeah, and you guys have a pretty cool website here. Let me just pull it up real quick. I had it on my phone went dark as we were talking. But your mountain, so you got Mission First. Let's see, where are we at here? MountainTactical.com. It's MTNTactical.com, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Right. And so if anybody is interested and you've enjoyed our conversation and what Rob and I have been talking about, you can go check out MTN, which is MountainTactical.com. And just really, it's just really easy. Just hit the 3 lines that we're all used to seeing. You've got, athlete subscription, daily programming, fitness plans, mountain, military, law enforcement, fire rescue, general, nutrition coaching. You've got resources. Quiet professional essays kind of intrigued me. Just growing up in my dad's culture of quiet professionals, I kind of pick up on what you're doing there. So I would recommend your passion. You're passionate about it, and that's what I love. So my coach tells me this: you know why you're here. I don't make you come here. You choose to be here. These are the things that we're doing. So you know why you're here. And I'm like, yeah, I'm here because today is the day I didn't know I needed my ass kicked, but I needed my ass kicked. That was today. I'm just saying. So very cool.
That's an interesting thing. I mean, we kind of attract a certain type of athlete, and we don't mess around, but we respect them, we hope, and certainly invest in our athletes.
Yeah, so I bet if they give you their all, you give them your all, and it's let's accomplish. And you want to be a part of a winning team. If they're a professional athlete and they're coming to you and they wind up winning, you're like, hey, all right, I had a little bit of something to do with that, and I think that's really cool. And I know I've had you on here for like an hour and we've been talking and we've been going back and forth about all sorts of extreme activities, but it's that easy to talk to you about it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, it's neat to be excited about the athletes you work with, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty privileged to work with this group of athletes.
Now, when somebody does sign up and become, a member of, or however you call it, at your organization at MTI, is that something that they do on their own, or is there? I find it to be a little bit more helpful to have a guy in my face saying, "Hey, Rad, you need to pivot this way," or "Hey, do this." Do they come to Wyoming? Do they stay in Seattle? How does the program kind of work if somebody does want to reach out?
Yeah, we help people get started, but most people train on their own. We have worked with individual athletes that traveled to many military bases to teach programming courses over the years, and so if you came, for example, I got an email this week from a guy who's in the Border Patrol, wants to go to Boar Star selection in a year.
Right.
And asked for what plans do I need to do to prepare me for that selection. We have a plan just for that selection. He has a year. He doesn't. The plan is, I think, 8 weeks long, designed to be completed directly before selection. He has a year between now and then, so we can help prescribe him programming to be able to get prepared to train that plan, and maybe get that plan right before he goes to selection. And so that's the same for all the different athletes. I've had the same type of questions for people who are climbing Denali, or doing a high level ski mountaineering trip in Alaska, all types of different activities, or just doing a backpacking trip in the summer. They just want to be ready to
That's right.
hike, 10 miles a day in the summer and get ready for it. So yeah, we certainly help with that kind of stuff, but the programming itself, it isn't complicated. People ask me about motivation. I don't try to grown adults. I'm not a parent to a grown adult. The programming is, I can't do the work for you.
Right.
I can't do it for you.
Right.
And I'm not, and so I think a lot of people graduate to MTI from CrossFit and other stuff. They've kind of, gone through that stuff, and now they're ready to work with programming that is a little more planned and programmed out, and trained for specifics. And also, they're ready to, take that responsibility and be professional about it themselves. So.
Yeah, I show up to the gym with purpose. I know I'm not going to be pro boxer, but in my mind, I'm like, I want to be the best I can be at whatever age I'm at right now. So that's
I hate to be your partner, 6'5",
275. Yeah. It's all good, baby. It's all good. Let's go. And so
it reminds me of a story there. I went to one of the first CrossFit certifications way back when, and I had this guy to train with me. This is before I started my gym. I was just in the gym, and he's an oil field welder. His name was Curtis P. And Curtis he wasn't as big as you, but he's a pretty big guy. And we'd be training, and then at that time, Glassman at CrossFit, he had the coach for Chuck Liddell. Remember Chuck Liddell?
Sure.
The guy from Mohawk.
Yep.
His coach was going to teach CrossFit for MMA guys, and in Santa Cruz. And on a whim, I said, "Let's go to this thing." So we went, and and there were some other guys there, but CrossFit at that time, they had this guy named Tony, and Tony's like their marketing guy. And Tony was like this big guy, and we had to do like this clinch work. And Crispy got back to the hotel room. He's like, "Oh, dude," he's like, "I'm so sore." Tony was throwing me around like a rag doll.
Oh, bro.
Oh man, it was so funny, man. And I saw that coach. I'd never been in an UFC match, and there was a guy there, like one of the first monsters for CrossFit. At that time, CrossFit had like these, some of the athletes. Like one was named Annie, and one was named Kim Girl, and this guy Amundsen. And this guy Amundsen, he was like a cop, and he was like this big monster. Bald guy, and everybody got first. They recognized this guy's name, and he was just holding up a pad, and Chuck Liddell's coach, I can't remember the guy, but he was a beast too. And he hit this pad and he kicked it. I'd never seen anything so freaking hard. I was like, "Oh my god, I would have killed me." He hit. You see that boxing, right? I've never.
Oh yeah.
Like that. Oh my god.
Dude, I think I can throw a hook, and I probably can throw. My coach thinks I can throw a good hook, but I watch my coach, and he's pro, right? And he's like 29, okay, and he throws it, and it's like, all right, I want the bag to sound like pop. And I'm just like, so every time I hit the bag, I go pop. I just say pop, dude. I just say it. So hopefully it echoes the hit of the bag. But bro's got just a different type of torque to his hips. You know,
Yeah,
there's
it was
just
like,
something.
he hit this guy, and he's probably 225 pounds. And the guy, he like jumped back 10 yards. I was like, oh my, or 3 yards. I was like, oh my God, I never.
I'll tell you, the one thing boxing taught me is I'm going to become a runner whether I like it or not. And so I do so much cardio running at the gym that I hated it, but now I'm like, hey, I'm way better at it. I still hate it, but I'm doing way more laps. Like now my side crunches are no longer like, I don't have to use the floor so much to help me on my side crunches. Now I'm using like my core to get my side crunches. You know what I'm talking about, right? So it's like, I can see these improvements in me in the last year and a half of just taking this seriously at my own gym. And I can imagine someone coming to you and having you just like say, hey, here's what you have to go through. Here's your syllabus. If you're serious about it, then you'll know that this is a serious situation and you'll take it seriously.
They just keep grinding.
Keep grinding, bro. Show up.
Just keep
Show
grinding.
Up. Yep, that's it. That's it. Dude, you've been great. And you're welcome back anytime on the show. If you got any health tips or you want to talk about like summertime, you know, I know this is going to come out and it's going to be kind of winter time and this will, you know, snowboarding, skiing, etc. So anytime you want to come back on the show and talk about Mountain Tactical Institute, you're more than welcome to be on here, Coast Guardsman. I think that's so cool.
Thank you for your time, Rad. Really appreciate talking to you.
Yeah, and to my listener out there and to the viewer that's been watching this, probably on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment down below, hit your buttons. Rob Shaul's his name. Mountain Tactical Institute is his game. And you can find it at mtntactical.com. And we'll have that in link form in the description of the title of this. If you've clicked on it, you can probably find it somewhere in the description of your website. Okay, so we'll put that out there, Rob.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, and on behalf of Rob and myself and Brandon Webb, who puts me in front of this camera and says, do this, Rad, I believe in you, and to Callum, who's my producer in the background, and to Chris and Amanda and everybody behind the scenes, Mark, Martin, thank you so much. From all of us here at SOFREP and to you, the listener, please make sure you like and subscribe, comment down below, do all those things to help us rise in the ranks and keep on the air. And check out the merch store and the book club, which is book-club, sofrep.com, book-club. So I just want to say thanks again to my guest and peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.